my God. Woo! So excited. I am here with the fabulous and amazing Kathy Keegan and the brilliant and fabulous, amazing Sheridan Botros. This is Still Human. Welcome to the podcast. We're so excited that you're here. And Sheridan is our first official guest, but I don't want to make too big of a deal of it because I just want to keep us laughing. I do this thing where I'm too gushy, and then I think I put all this pressure on people, and they're like, okay, like lower your expectation.
Well, it's you admire people, and you're effusive in your praise of people because you see their goodness, their brilliance, and this is what we see. And I'm doing the same thing in a different way. So I'm talking about Sheridan with you.
Right.
And saying all these brilliant things about her, which is another way we can put pressure on her.
Right.
Did that work?
No pressure. I'm good. I'm so happy to be here with you, Elaine and Kathy. And this is fun from the West Coast where it's way too early.
It is. She got up early. And so we're so excited. We're going to be talking about humor. We're going to be talking about some comedy because I have learned so much from Sheridan and Kathy. And then we're going to be talking about how to add humor if you want to try to do that if you're a speaker, coach, or if you just know, like right now, I need to laugh more. Right. So we're going to be talking all things fun. So sit back, relax, let the serotonin flow. You're going to be burning calories, laughing, releases toxins, and it's free.
Here's the thing too, and what you're talking about, you want the serotonin to flow, right? Because the serotonin does not need to be refurbished. Like dopamine's a hit, right? Mm. But the serotonin is like, we feel good and we continue to feel good.
Yes, and I have the coffee flowing, and I've got some coconut water flowing. I have regular water. I probably won't touch it.
Are you a keto girl?
I am.
Okay, cool.
I am. Yes.
Yeah, I have to say, I just started doing intermittent fasting again, and I can feel the difference in like 2 days of it, 3 days. Wow. It's amazing. I love Dave Asprey. So I just wanted to I wanted to drop a couple of things about how this is a stressful time. We're in the middle of COVID, and I don't even have kids, but I can't imagine what people are going through with kids and students and parents. And oh my gosh, and I was doing an interview the other day and Zoom kept kicking us off because the whole world is on Zoom. And I came up with a couple of jokes because I'm an extrovert, and so it's been really hard. So I'm like, you know what? It feels like your introvert is bullying my extrovert. And then I was like, my yoga friend, we were doing yoga on Zoom, and she said, Elaine, your hips have opened up. And I was like, are you calling me a loose woman? What is happening? And then I was like, you know what? Well, your third eye looks like it's getting pink eye. So,
snap.
But a bump. No, I didn't really say that. I just thought it. No, I'm just kidding. But we're going to talk a lot about humor, and Sheridan's going to drop some stuff. And, Sheridan and I met in New York City. We were both from Texas, and we became comedy buddies. And then Kathy and I met through eWomen, and her background is improv. And so we were doing this awesome 3-way Zoom writing thing. And the time when we both realized that Kathy K was a serious playa was, you want to tell them about the whole dog thing we're working on,
so
Sheridan?
I was writing a joke, one of my more intellectual jokes about a dog bringing me a beer from the refrigerator. And so, because it's all about, that type of humor. And so, so Kathy said, oh, so you can take a service dog and make him a full service dog. I'm like, oh man, that is good.
And we were like,
that is good.
Game on. She is a natural.
What did you say, Kathy? That was, yes.
Well, there's something about you guys too, that it's something clicks, so that when the three of us are together, even though we're on Zoom, we kind of bring out that part of us, because in some ways, I'm not even sure where that's coming from. Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of like 3 together equals 10. It equals a number that's greater. There's something about our minds coming together and we have so much fun about it. It's also done so respectfully. I'll bring something. So for example, the thing that I'm really wondering about, first of all, you have all those ads with white people problems, like they can't cook very well and they burn their plates and stuff. Or they don't know how to clean things until they're so super dirty, and then they use like this magic thing, and then all of a sudden it's clean.
This magic chemical.
And the thing that I'm wondering is, have those ads influenced me to let my house get dirtier so that when I clean, I get more of a aha and a wow? Because the thing is that it's like in life, it's almost no fun to prevention, right? When you're preventing something, you're doing these small things that add up to big, huge returns on your investment. But I want what I want when I want it, and I want it now. And so
what do you mean?
So if I wipe that thing off and you see like it's dark on this side and clear on this side, you're like, wow, I really cleaned that.
Much more satisfying. We need gratification now, right?
Right.
We need like just a simple, the house is pretty clean, and that ain't gonna do it, right?
Right. And so I just really wonder about that. Is it, why is that I need something to prove to me that I did something right? And is that because of advertising? I don't know. Is it because of COVID? I don't know.
Well, I think it's hilarious because I'm like, I've never put that much thought into cleaning in my whole life, but I will consider it moving forward.
What? There's a magic ingredient?
I know.
There's a magic product? What is it, Kathy?
It's elbow grease.
Oh, that's not sexy.
Only
$9.95.
I want
scroll. Let's keep scrolling. I can't. No. That's not sexy.
Yeah.
Is that what you swipe a different way, like a left?
I don't know. I said scrolling, but I was trying to swipe like as if I know Tinder. I don't know. Those things I feel like I'm shopping for a man. It doesn't feel right. But yeah, no, and to me, this is so fun. Bantering with you guys back and forth has been definitely one of the greatest joys before COVID, but especially during COVID. Or like Sheridan is, this was to me hilarious because when I get really into coaching or teaching, I'll be like,
right. And for those of you who are listening, she's making this face of, what? Wow.
Yes.
Like my mouth is open and it's not attractive.
Well,
and
it helps Sheridan, to listen. It helps make you listen,
It helps, right. And thank God Sheridan is like, she helps me with style constantly. Like, Elaine, that painting, no, it says old lady. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even know that's what I was saying, but that's not what I want to say. But anyway,
after I wrote that, I'm like, okay, that was harsh, Sheridan. Maybe she loved it. Maybe it was her grandmother.
No, but it's good because Sheridan, not only is she a sarcastic, brilliant comedian and comedy writer, she also does all this cool style stuff that we would talk about more, but it's not quite as funny as her writing. My style, now that's funny, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But no, anyway, so Sheridan sends me this hilarious picture of me, and she's like, maybe you should try to listen if you're going to be on camera with your mouth not quite like, And so then we have this whole series of like taking pictures of each other with our mouths open. And there's just like such a fun way to banter back and forth. So I just love you, Sheridan. And do you want to hit us with some of your magic? Do you want to tell us some of your latest ramblings or thoughts?
So, So, and Elaine, what I did was I slowed down the video, because if you're talking, you eventually have your mouth open, right, at certain points. And so I sent all those. I'm like, but you weren't just like sitting there. Well, other times you were, but I was too.
Okay.
So it's all about learning, right? It's all about learning. And so, I'm on the West Coast now, and the West Coast is very different. When I moved to New York from Texas, people were like, you need to be more real. We can tell you're not being real. And I mean, in the subway, right? It was different back then. People would confront you a lot more. Here in Northern California, they're like, she's being way too real. One time I did a joke about yoga and I heard gasps in the audience. Like, oh, she's not going to make us feel bad, is she?
We don't joke about yoga. And tell us about, like, isn't it crazy, like the rules they have about stuff?
It's much more, because New York has its own set of rules and its own set of boundaries, but the West Coast has more of it's like a puritanical thing, like recycling is the one thing I noticed right out of the gate. Like the recycling bin for trash is labeled landfill. So, so you're feeling bad about yourself right out of the gate. It's and this bin is about like it's much smaller than the other ones, right? So it sends the message loud and clear. You're supposed to have no trash. So like, what about that cookie sheet from 1978, right? There is nowhere to throw that. So what they do is they say you repurpose it, right? You have to reuse it because there's nowhere to throw it out. So I'm using mine as a tray to serve drinks on. It's worked out really well. And the old crusted cookie dough just keeps the glasses in place on the tray. So.
Oh, that's great. So they don't slide.
Yeah, yes. The old cookie dough, the chocolate chip cookies from, the early 80s. So yeah, there's a lot of that. There are a lot of rules, no judgment. Oh, cannibalism is bad, but it's the personal choice. Night and day from New York. I'm like, you people are killing me because I come from Texas where you're just nice and you don't even know it, or it's just
I'm just fine, right?
Yeah, it's just what are you doing? Oh, nothing. Your whole life, nothing. In New York, it's like you say what you mean and you mean what you say, right? It is. So I've made the triangle to the West Coast. I don't think I'll be closing the triangle back to Texas, but I'm good. I'm happy. And right, this is the great thing about Zoom and all this is that it's like we get to chat, and it's almost like being there. So
and we're in a shape of a triangle.
Oh my God!
Because of the way this is set up in Zoom.
Oh, not the Bermuda
There I go
Triangle,
again.
but
Kathy Keegan, master of the obvious.
Woo! I'm gonna start calling you Captain Obvious. Oh, that's people have been.
No, that was a great observation. Yes, and I'm sure it's symbolically.
What's sheltering in place like there? You had any thoughts on that, and just what that is? Is there anything that seems California-y about sheltering in place or not?
Well, the sheltering in place. I mean, it's so beautiful here. I will hands down give it that the most beautiful place on the planet. The one thing I will say, and this is a little now, I personally am went a little bit crazy sheltering in place, but once the BLM started here, the Black Lives Matter, I'm like, are these people in Marin? So I live in Marin, right? I'm right outside of the bedroom community. Are these people going to participate? Or are they going to notice? Right? I shouldn't say that. And people were out there with signs, not many, but there was a little girl with these short shorts, and she was texting on her phone, and she had a sign at an intersection that says BLM, honk if you care. I'm like, all right.
Cool.
I didn't know that she knew what BLM stood for, but that's okay. She was trying, right?
Exactly. That's the main thing.
Cute. Yes.
People weren't letting it hold them back.
Yes. So how is your sheltering in place going there, Kathy?
Well, it's interesting because I moved from New York in the middle, right before everything shut down.
She got out by the hair of her skinny chin.
Moved on the 9th of March, got my furniture on the 12th. Bam, the door closed. Apparently in New York now, you can't even get a moving company. They're just not even returning calls because so many people are trying to move.
Mm.
And because I have a pod with my husband and then my father-in-law who lives up on the 16th floor, it's been very interesting because that's kind of been my world. And it's just so funny because when people say, how are you doing? Well, I'm fine, and then they have the gall to say, so what'd you do today? Or what are you up to this weekend? What do you mean, what weekend?
Yes.
I mean, it's just sort of like I go to the supermarket and then sometimes the pharmacy. Doug and I yesterday walked and I got my shingles vaccine on this side and my flu vaccine on this side. And that's, and we actually ate outside. But that's it. And there's not a lot of boom to that, right? So trying to find humor in all that has been kind of interesting because even though we have neighbors, we moved into this new building, we hardly know anybody. Like my neighbor just had a quintuple bypass and I had no idea. That's New York. That's not Chicago.
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's really odd, and you just become excited about putting on a mask. No, I'm never excited about that. We've experimented with different masks.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
But the
fun.
best ones are the disposable ones.
They are. Isn't it funny?
So you can just
Yeah.
zip by right in their lobbies. That's a little tip for people. They have a whole bunch of masks, so you can just take one. Don't take a bunch.
So
just take
if
one.
you're in Chicago, go by Kathy's building.
Well, yeah, it's Northwestern is right down the street from us.
Which is like notoriously
Cheap.
great, or notoriously great medical thing. So
Mm.
So what about
awesome.
you, Elaine?
Yes.
Home Depot, I
was-
think, is your big.
I'm laughing because
Oh, yeah.
I'm-
Home Depot.
Home Depot. You know, I used to not want to order from Amazon for lots of different reasons, but I have embraced my inner introvert, and I feel like my productivity has quadrupled. And so I'm grateful for that, although and I'm so grateful that I have clients and I can work from home, but I know so many people are having such a hard time. But I was laughing because I'm on Zoom so much. I got special glasses to do the blue blockers, and I highly
cool.
recommend these.
Yes.
And I've also gotten some stuff to combat all of the 5G stuff. So I'm turning into one of those people between essential oils and, you know, I'm turning into like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But you know, just because I'm on Zoom so much. But I was laughing because one of my friends was like, but you're always seeing people, you're always socializing. And I was like, on Zoom? Like my friends think that because I'm like, oh yeah, I was talking to so-and-so. So I am socializing, but it's all like, you know, through a screen.
How do you feel bullied by my introversion?
Well, because I think you're laughing. No, because I, you know, I've always thought I was a total extrovert. I think my sister would agree with that. And I love people, love hugging, love being social. And there is a part of me that likes having downtime and alone time to sort of reboot. But, you know, the COVID has changed everything. You know, and so I freaking miss hugs, you know, and so I just was, and I know some introverts like Kathy are like, yo, I love this. This is awesome. So
Is that how she sounds?
I think it was like July when I was like, wow, this being inside is starting to get on my nerves.
Yeah. And
a few months in.
Of course, with with the air quality here in California, you haven't, you know.
Is the sky orange there?
It is crazy. Yes. Yes. It was totally, or it was like night at 2 p.m.
I was looking at my weather app and it was showing smoke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
And
smoke.
there are 6 tropical disturbances. That's for all the people who speak Bostonian. I'll say that again. Tropical disturbances in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
6 of them.
That's one thing I really love. Like Sheridan helps me be sexier, stylish, and funnier. And Kathy keeps me updated on the latest in everything. Weather, the latest trends in coaching. She reads 5 books at a time. So it's cool. I just kind of hang out and listen to her and go, wow, really? Wow. It's fun. It's kind of like hanging out with Encyclopedia Britannica, which probably half the people here don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of books with stuff in it, which is kind of neat.
It was
the big set. Remember the big set everyone used to have?
Yes.
The red or the black. Yeah.
I know it's hard for people to remember. Okay, so I wanted to talk about you know, some of the craziest things that have happened. Like I know you have a crazy improv story, Kathy, or like do you want to share Sheridan, one of your favorite like weird things that happened during your one time I dragged Sheridan. She was always such a good sport when she lived in New York. I'd be like, come on, I got us a spot on the show. And I swear to God, every time it'd be like, the time before it was like a great show. And then when I brought Sheridan, there'd be like 3 people. and she was always such a great sport. But one time we drove to South Jersey to perform at a bank that had been converted to a cigar bar with a side of an ice cream drive-through. And so you'd have
Yes.
to like tell your joke and then make sure there weren't any kids at the window in case your joke was rated R. And that can really, it was
That was fun. You know what though? You got to remember, Elaine, like I was in New York City for years and years, no car. I'm like, we're taking a car ride. I didn't care where we were going.
okay.
We also went to some bars in the middle of nowhere. But
We did. Long
we can
Island,
talk
I
about
dragged her everywhere.
the ice cream. But you drove. I mean, dragging wasn't, I was seated not on the subway. Oh, it was a road trip.
Right. Survivor comedy.
Survivor comedy where you have all these
Yeah.
challenges because it's always something. It's like, people are clearing dishes or the background music doesn't go off because you're almost never in good conditions to
Right.
perform.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not like
right.
Toastmasters where everybody's polite and like listening. It's like,
Well, they're maybe listening. Yeah, they're polite. I learned this from California.
right. Or like Sheridan, you were talking about how one time you had a vajayjay joke or something.
Oh my God. So yes, so I was hosting this show and this guy got up and he was like, okay, I just want you to know. And I'm like, oh, what's going to happen here? Because then I had to go and write, like, make it all okay. He's like, you women just, say things to me from your vaginas.
Oh my God.
He's like, you say things and I get, and okay, it got all quiet, right? It's like, no, no. He's like ruining the show. He's like, you say things and I know you're saying things. So of course everyone's dead silence and I get to go up and clean up the mess. So I went up and I'm like, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And I'm like, wait, I've got something to say to you. Okay, I'm almost done. Okay, I have one more thing to say about your upbringing. And people lost it, right? And that, like, we're all totally laughing because, like, how crazy. And that's part of my thing that we talk about sometimes, where inserting comedy into any sort of talk, if you say what people are thinking in the room, like that is
Gold.
it is, because they're thinking that and they wanted to say it, or maybe they were almost formulating that thought, but they didn't quite know how to get there. I once saw, I think it was years ago, Rodney Dangerfield at Lincoln Center, and a woman came out and she was like, probably from the West Coast. And she was like, and just, I'd never heard, she was like, and la, 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 la. I'd never heard anything. It was bizarre. And then Joy Behar comes out right after. And I mean, this is like Lincoln Center, huge, 3 tiers. And Joy Behar is like, I had to follow that. And the place lost it. Because again, we're all thinking that, oh man, who's the unlucky soul coming next after her? So
And what
there
you
is
did,
that.
the sort of the pause, the power of the pause, and then a
Yeah.
gesture. That's it. And you didn't even have to point down there. You're pointing up and you're silent and you're allowing the speech, and people's imaginations go right to that spot. I mean, it's genius. And so it isn't always the things you say. Sometimes it's the things that you don't say, and just
Yes,
a gesture.
excellent. Yes. No, that's so true. And that's so again, like you're inspiring all these great thoughts, and it's true. New comics and even people performing get nervous and talk fast, right? Like I'm a fast talker. I have to slow myself down. But yeah, that pause can be so much funnier and so much more poignant and so much more in the room than rambling on or even saying something really, really funny.
Right.
So yeah.
I
What a
love
great
that. And
moment.
we were prepping and I was like, Sheridan, we can always bleep it out. If we say something, we're like, oh,
Right.
And then it made me think of Kathy. One of my favorite things that you do is, when you discuss going to modern music concerts.
Yeah.
And you have this whole you know, you
Yeah,
demonstrate like,
well, there is, you know, it's interesting. If somebody, you know, if I go to a museum and someone has painted a dot, I want to know how they got to the dot, right? I think it's important to have a little bit of a backstory of how they arrived at the dot. So, for example, with certain painters like Picasso or others, you can see how they moved through the years and then come into some of these other phases. And with modern music, I don't always understand that. Usually, you have to be there in person. And what happens is it makes it eminently mimicable. It just doesn't take much. And so you can just sort of start with, my heart is red. And, you know, I could go out there, and if I took that seriously and promoted it like crazy, people would just be like,
Yeah.
something. That's really something. And so it's hard, you know, it's you don't always see the value of the amount of work. Like as we talk about how you've written jokes and how you prepare to be on the stage and be effective and funny on the stage, there's so much work that goes into it. And when you have something and the product is a dot, it becomes much harder for us to say, how?
Yeah.
You know, and then you feel silly if you're kind of like, how much are we going to talk about the dot? Now, if you know their trajectory and you know who the artist is, you might say, that is so simple for him and profound.
Well, you know what though, Kathy? It's an excellent point though, that when something is done really well and really beautiful, it looks like it was simple getting there,
Very,
right? The
yeah.
perfect joke, the perfect
Yep.
stand up, the so comfortable, and so and the artwork
usually
and the
it's like
speech.
Yep.
Yeah.
not what
Right.
they taught us in school. Right.
And that's that whole idea of, you know, we talk about mastery and it's doing these things over and over again, you know, and so it's the minute a joke is done, you're still going to go off stage and just sort of say, here's how I might have played that differently. So you're
Right.
constantly tweaking and thinking about what it is you do. It's not a one and done. It's not you prepare behind the scenes and you show up. You practice showing up over and
Right.
over again. And,
The
you know, Elaine,
craft of it. Right.
yeah. And both
I love
a lot
the
of
people, my clients and students, I say whenever I would speak or perform or whatever, I would always come off and handwrite, because it helps you emotionally sort of integrate. And I would be like, okay, I'm really proud of this. And woo, this did not work. But I always made myself write a couple of positive things, because, I can be so, there can be 100 people laughing and you focus on the one lady. There was an old lady and she would not laugh at this show I did in New Jersey. And it was a great, great show. And then as we're leaving, I'm hugging people, signing autographs, taking pictures. And I said, did you enjoy the show? She said, oh, you were hilarious. I just never laugh. And I was like, ah. And I wanted to say, can you wear a sign next time? But yeah, I always think it's good to integrate, okay, this really worked and I want to work on this. And so, okay, so Sheridan shared with us a little bit about one of her things. And then, Kathy, can you tell us about like one of the reasons you left improv when they wanted you, what did they want you to do? Because to me, this is just hilarious.
it's pretty male dominated, right? Oh, I know, I'm sorry. Should trigger alert. Comedy is very male dominated. So I was in this improv troupe and it's about teamwork, right? It's about being able to read people, get to, know, and they thought I should play more bimbos. And I was like, I can play certain bimbos, but they're going to be more like Judy Holiday bimbos. They're not going to be like dumb ones. But they were just, it was like, this is an improv troupe and you're trying to put me in a box, which was just the weirdest thing. And we had some people who could have done solo shows. They were really that way. I'm much more of a team player. I just riff off other people way better. That's why improv was always better for me. But sometimes they would just go out there and just do a solo and not do any of the things, the yes ands, or make any of the invites or make any offers or go out and speak in gibberish. And that is so tough when you go out there and there's no offer made. trying to come up with some kind of an offer. The thing that I want to ask too, because this is really on my mind, asking you guys, there's this whole idea of letting go of your little darlings, like when you're writing and stuff. How do you decide when you have a joke? Because I know that we've been together and talking through some stuff where a joke, it's worth it to continue to refine it, and then you finally get there. How do you know when to hang on to that or when to let it go?
Well, first of all, it's sort of a lot of it's a gut feeling. Like, I know there's something there. I know I'm not there. Or it's a topic that people haven't discussed yet, or it's not a common topic. But for me, it's just like, I am not quite ready to say goodbye to that joke. So it's stubbornness, Kathy. It's
well,
really
Sheridan, you're so good at this. And Sheridan is constantly, because I like to just, let me try this, let me try that. And, I remember when I would tour, the person I was touring with would be like, Elaine, you got to work on it a little bit. You can't just come up with it and then try it at a show. And I'd be like, why not? Because I am courageous, or maybe I'm just ignorant, or a combo, but Sheridan is helping me with my writing and having, going back and really tweaking. And it is fun, especially when you can do it. One of my favorite things is to kind of come up with an idea and then work with y'all and then go back and tweak it some more. So that's one thing I am working on, is being more organized. But yes, and then sometimes the jokes write themselves every once in a while.
If that's every once in a while. But the other thing, rare for me, but anyway, no, you're right, Elaine. Sometimes people have entire, books come to them, right? Without even, they're just like, I downloaded that.
Right.
I'm not sure how it happened, but yes. And the one thing you and I work on, and Kathy, is that because we know each other's stuff so well, we can say, you know what, Elaine, that's just like your bartender joke.
Right.
Do you want to keep? And it's like buying the same clothes over and over again. You like that type of joke. You like the way that feels. So something is very similar. It's the same type of punch. It can be disguised.
Right.
What's it about? And sometimes you can take a morsel of that and put it with the old joke. So maybe you have a tag now from this new bit.
Oh my God. See, isn't she brilliant? I love it. I love it. And
Kathy,
I just want to.
Oh no, go ahead, Elaine.
I was going to say, we do comedy Zooms, and people have been asking for us to do that again. So if you're listening and you want to know more, make sure that you comment below, because it's really fun. We did one where we were telling some jokes, and then Sheridan trained us, and people came and brought stuff, but she also she went into deeper stuff about how to be funnier, how to add humor. She knows so much about comedy writing. I just love it. But what were you going to say, Sheridan?
Well, thanks. Oh, I was just going to, because Kathy said this great stuff about improv. Well, thank you. Thank you. And, it's a synergy too. Like I'm funnier when we all get together, and I'm like, the ideas are flowing, and maybe, I don't know, you have a crystal back there. I think is this maybe, now that I'm a Californian, you maybe get help from a crystal. But what I was going to say was, Kathy is brilliant in improv. I am so bad at improv. I love stand up because it's one person, it's all you, make it or break it. And it's because I have a hard time focusing. And when I listen, I sort of get the gist of something. So if they give me a suggestion, I'm like, did they say be Santa or the Taliban? I'm just not quite sure. And then my positive experience with improv was this. It was an early morning class, as you can see with my coffee. I'm not an early morning person. And this woman was going to be my improv hairdresser. So she was touching my hair. Right? I'm like, fine. And she thought it was so soft. And I was like it. So for the entire class, she's touching my hair. And that was my most positive improv experience. So it's a real talent. It's not just.
It's
getting
hard
up there. As Kathy's amazing.
And the thing I wanted her to say, but I'll say it was, she was in this troupe and different things happened. But at one point they hired this troupe to come to some office happy hour. And And they wanted her to jump out from under the table.
Like under
Going-
guacamole
Going,
dip.
guacamole, guacamole, guacamole,
But
guacamole.
Again, the woman has to do the, I thought you were
Right.
going to say out of a cake.
Yeah, I wish, I mean, and that's the whole thing. That was where I drew the line. I was just like, I don't make a lot of money doing this. I am not
Yeah.
popping up from underneath guacamole and trying to be funny. Like,
I-
humiliating.
Hearing about it,
I'm
it's
thinking if
guacamole.
I just can't imagine
Hello.
if
Have
I was
another
at-
bite, won't you? What do you say? How do
like
you
or to me, what if you scared somebody? Like, what if you're
what
like,
if you scared them?
they've
Plus,
had a
where
long
am I?
day and
They're
you're
at
like, oh my God.
And if they're at the table, where am I? I'm crotch level. So now what am I supposed to say,
Yeah.
right? When you think about, you start looking at the logistics and then also the physicality of it. And it's like, I'm going to be crippled and I'm going to be making crotch jokes. That's kind of not my jam.
Yeah. In that case, you don't want to say what's in the room and what people are thinking.
Oh my God. Right. Well, it depends.
Exception.
Okay. That makes me think of one other thing. So last year, Kathy and I and our friend Greer, we went to go see Mel Robbins, her TV show. She's like one of the top coaches because my friend Tracy, who's hilarious, was the warm-up. And part of being the warm-up comedian is, you have to like keep the audience awake and alive while they're doing all those things. Cause filming is really like, anyway, so my friend's like getting people to do different things. She was having us play games. And then at one point she's like, okay, everybody with birthdays, you're going to come up and we're going to have a dance contest. And Kathy was such a trooper. She jumped up and she was like jamming out and, and all the audience is watching her. And thank God the crew is probably like not, but I thought you were such a good sport. And then there was this guy who was kind of a heavy guy, but he was being very, very risque. And he was like shimmying with Kathy. And she was like, oh God. And he would like turn around and like shake his butt, like right in her face. It was so
Wow.
funny. And I kept thinking, and she was like, my husband's gonna kill me.
Well, and the other thing is that they knew this guy. There are people who go to these shows over and over and over again.
Wow.
They're big fans. They know everything. They're like, oh, hey, Bill, how are you? And I'm just like, Bill is a terrific dancer. But, I don't know. I mean, is that his career? Because does he get paid to do that? But it was horrifying because there was one where she wanted to have people do like individual dances with them. Like it was one thing when it was a whole crowd. And so I was just like, I said to Elaine, I said, what the hell am I going to do? I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I cannot. And then they said, oh, time. We need to start the show. It's like,
she was such a good sport because I just I've been to a bunch of tapings and I had never seen somebody be that risque. And he was wearing a very thin shirt and he was large. So like he had man boobs, and it was just, and he was like shaking it like
shimmying.
Like he was an amazing dancer in spite of his size.
Yeah.
So it was just
probably
a lot.
An earlier time, he was amazing. And then he's bringing everything he had to it.
Dancing wasn't enough to counteract perhaps any eating that might be going on or drinking. Or
any lifestyle choices.
Right, exactly. So
Just thought of it.
Guys, this is so good.
So funny. And then I thought, you know what? Why don't we share with our fabulous listeners how to make a speech funnier? Does anybody have, like, I always tell my people, if you can make an inanimate object talk to you, especially in a speech where they're not expecting you to be funny, that is usually an automatic laugh. Like I have this whole bit about like I go in my closet and my skinny jeans are like, hey, what happened? You never take us out anymore. Did we break up? Like, why are you always in your yoga pants now? What am I, chopped liver? So anyway, and I think every woman in COVID right now can relate to that. But
yeah,
Sheridan, what's one of your tips?
Well, sort of what we were talking about before, like if something's super technical and, say what's in the room, if it's a technical talk and it's going to get a little bit boring, say, now this part was super interesting. I fell off my bar stool when I was reading it the first time. Like, I think you can just be like, you've got a sense of humor, you've got a sense of sarcasm. And the thing is, you can write in, if you're doing a speech over and over, you can write in funny parts and just say them, say them every time you do it. I mean, if you have the same audience, it'll be, the eye roll, like my poor friends being dragged to shows over and over. They're like, oh, we thought that was spontaneous. It is not. But so that's a fun way. Also extremes,
Exaggerations, right?
Yeah, exaggerations, extremes, and just people write and they write comedy, and people always think, oh, it's so spontaneous. Well, it's great when it is, but so much of it is rehearsed, and things can get funnier when you rehearse them. So figure out where you want to put in some jokes, some material, or even something light, and experiment with your friends. Like, I was on the phone with my brother-in-law yesterday, and he was doing something. He's like, I'm going to put you on mute, but you run your set. And so as I was saying it, certain things were like, he was like gone for 7 minutes. Certain things were as I said them, I'm like, no. And then he came back from whatever he was doing and said, hey, I like the part, about the baking sheet, whatever. But so, you can really, and Elaine and I can help you with that. And Elaine's an amazing coach, how to make things funnier, how to make things more real, how to look better on camera. So there's a lot out there.
There's a lot of things to play with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Kathy, what would you say? Well, what's one of your...
Yeah, so I was thinking one time I was backstage. It was I was introing something or whatever, but there were several very experienced speakers backstage, people who had spoken for years that made tons of money as speakers. And I noticed them off in their corners practicing before they went on stage.
Yeah.
And it was such an important moment for me to see that, yes, even that person who is walking on that stage, there's almost nothing taken for granted. And so it's really, really important to realize that this is what it looks like. It's sort of like it. And so there are moments that it isn't necessarily fun, but when you find a group like us, we can riff off each other and we really make it fun. And so we're able to take things in stride and take the feedback and really do something with it. So it's something that you want to keep. You just want to keep making it better.
Right.
Like
to me, I'm always like, that's why Kathy and I wanted to start our podcast too, of like, could we make business a little more fun, please? Like, hello.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, when you go to commercial auditions or any kind of auditions, you see all these actresses and they're going, no, but I said, no, I'm not going to do that. But she said, yes, or you get the words in your mouth.
Yeah.
And so, again, even if somebody, like, before I have a big show, I am going through my set. I am saying the words out loud to create the muscle memory. And, what I realized, one reason I started my coaching program is most people don't know how to rehearse. I grew up rehearsing. So all of the things I do by habit, a lot of people don't even know. And that's been one of my greatest joys, is helping demystify it and chunk it down and make it fun, and memory tips or whatever. And then I also was going to recommend for people listening, if you want to add more fun, get a comedy buddy. This does not mean you're pursuing stand-up comedy and you're going to quit your day job. Please don't do that. But like, just to have somebody that you can banter with, you can send goofy pictures of yourself. Maybe you already have this. Maybe you could up your game. Like Sheridan will be like, Elaine, watch this comedian. And sometimes I'm like, meh. And then I'll be like, okay, now I like them, and we discuss it. Like what makes them good? What makes them, and Kathy and I too, and Kathy's just so self-deprecating and brilliant. And you always have funny stuff to say, even when you're like, I've been studying the neuroplasticity science of the brain. And, and I'm like, what? And then she'll say something funny. And then I'm like, okay. So
and that's what you're talking about, Elaine, are things that are about wellness. So we can actually bring into this conversation, as we wind it down, that this is also about wellness. So you're releasing something by having that. So if you already have that friend that you send the funny pictures with, you're already doing something for yourself in a positive way. And it's a lot of fun, and being able to laugh is a great way to be able to release things and just to see the humor in something.
And there's so much, sorry, just you're
No,
reminding me of this out there. Like, you watch the Jim Gaffigan, watch all the Trevor Noah, the great comics.
Maria Bamford.
Maria Bamford.
Wanda Sykes.
Wanda Sykes.
We have to have some females.
Of our time, and watch TED Talks.
Yes.
Like, you can watch those all day long. There's some
the dude with the cane, Sir Richard, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. So he did a TED Talk about creativity and education that was like in the beginning of TED phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
And then he came back with another one and he goes, as I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, there's all day long you can watch that, and you can, as Kathy's saying, be healed, laugh, and learn. So there's no shortage, even though we're stuck in our houses, most of us, there's no shortage of what's still out there that's available.
And it's okay to laugh even amid a crisis.
I was about to say that. Oh my God. Peach Coke, you owe me a Coke. Yes, because I know I'm super sensitive, and I know that I am horrified at things that are happening. And I know that I've struggled with depression and anxiety for most of my life, which is one reason I drank and drugged and did all the crazy stuff I did in my 20s. And, I want to give you permission, if you feel like it's like you can have laughter in your life and still be doing serious and important things.
Yeah.
It's a release. It is a way to help process.
Right.
I also encourage my students and people to be careful, be mindful with, how much news are you watching? And if you must feel like you need to learn, reading is better for your brain than watching all of the trauma and stuff. And I just love that. Like, it's giving yourself permission to laugh can help you deal with so much stuff. That's why I love dark comedy, because I'm a little bit sick and twisted, and you guys still love me. So thank you.
Let me tell you, my brother Patrick, my mother was kind of on life support, and then they'd bring her to. She was on this drug because she'd had this heart attack, and she would come to, and then have to remember all over again that she had a heart attack. And my brother Patrick walked up to her and said, "Mom, I'm so sure you're going to recover. I didn't bring a suit." And he had traveled from, midway in the country over, and so, it sometimes that humor can show up at the darkest of times. Like the day my brother wore a dreidel tie to a funeral, and he thought they were buoys, and so it's like, there we are, we're sad about this person, but you're wearing a dreidel tie. This is fantastic. It's just, so seeing those moments and allowing them to be, because they don't take away from the other seriousness. It doesn't mean you can't hold all of that as a human being. We've got some amazing brains, and that's another podcast.
Yeah. And you really, you can, and this is basically what we're all saying, you can help more. You can help the world, the planet more, other people, if you're not all stressed out and worried and scared and fried and sleep deprived. So, that's what we do for each other. That's what Elaine and her coaching, and Kathy, and it's just, there's a lot of fun to be had and a lot of work to do. So
that's such a good point. And do you have any closing thoughts or jokes or something that you want to leave people with? Or
well, I was just thinking of I have this joke it's been fun. I've been working on it for a while, and I always like to, except for the beer and the dog and the refrigerator, I like to have a little bit of a message. Or to me, jokes land more if they have more of a message. It's like, got it. And so I have this joke that's I've been doing for a while, but I've changed the punches so many times, worked with Elaine on it. And it's, I was walking down the street with a friend, and we saw this homeless guy, and I wanted to give him $1. And my friend said, "Oh, don't do that. He's just going to spend it on drugs and alcohol." And I was thinking, That's where it's going to go if I keep it. So I just wanted to leave you with that.
Oh, I love
Thank
it,
you
Sheridan
so much.
Botros.
Oh,
It was
Sheridan.
fabulous.
What a
Kathy,
pleasure.
any parting words of wisdom or
I don't think anyone could say it better. I
guacamole?
think
Guacamole.
Sheridan,
No.
I think, yeah, guacamole. I think Sheridan, I think we can leave it at that.
I think she nailed it. Thank you so much
Thank
for listening
you.
and watching. If you know somebody who needs to laugh or wants to laugh, please share this with them. And if you want to find out how to learn how to work with Kathy Keegan, you can find her at KATHYKEEGAN.com. She is an amazing coach, mentor, and speaker.
Yes.
Elaine,
Do you want to tell them how to find me?
captivate the crowd. And those are all C's,
Yeah.
except for the.
Yeah.
What does captivate the crowd, John the Baptist, and have in common?
Right.
The same middle
Lemons?
name. The.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. We'll work on that. Okay. Thank you so much for joining and for sharing your wisdom with us, Sheridan Botros and Kathy Keegan. As always, it's such a pleasure to laugh and inspire and enlighten and stay sexy. Oh, wait, that's a different podcast. Love you guys.
Bye. Love you too.
Bye.
Bye. Love you
Okay.
too.